Pilot's remains an 80-year-old missing plane finally found under the sea. In the heart of the deep blue Adriatic Sea, at a depth of nearly 230 feet, where only darkness and eternal silence are expected, a shocking discovery brought history back into the light. It wasn't a treasure of gold or a sunken ancient ship, but a colossal war machine. A B-17 Flying Fortress bomber, along with the remains of the pilot who had been missing for nearly 80 years. A story long thought forgotten amid the ruins of World War II finally found its closure, and it all began with a chance dive by an amateur war photographer. Have you ever imagined that a photo taken beneath the sea could reconnect the thread of memory broken nearly a century ago? British underwater photographer Steve Jones, driven by his passion for underwater photography, never expected that a photo he took in September 2016 would not only capture the attention of photography enthusiasts, but also touch the heart of a family who had been searching for their loved one for more than 7 decades. On that fateful day, while diving off Vis Island, a small island off the coast of Croatia, with a local Croatian guide, Jones spotted the strange shadowy outline of a massive moss-covered object lying silently amidst sand and coral. As he approached, he nearly held his breath, not from water pressure, but from awe. Right in front of him lay the wreckage of a B-17 Flying Fortress, one of the most iconic bombing machines used by the U.S. Air Force during World War II. But this was not just a lifeless piece of metal. Inside, still seated in the cockpit, was Second Lieutenant Ernest Vinno, the pilot of that ill-fated B-17. Shockingly, his remains were still trapped in the cockpit. They hadn't drifted away. They hadn't fully decomposed. It was as if he were still there, continuing a mission that had been left unfinished nearly 8 decades ago. Ernest's story began in the peaceful town of Papanil, Maine. At the age of 25, during the peak years of World War II, he joined Bomber Squadron 340, one of the U.S. Air Force's key units at the time. On a bombing mission over the skies of Yugoslavia, now part of the Balkans, his aircraft was struck by anti-aircraft fire and suffered critical damage. With skill and courage, Ernest tried to steer the plane toward an emergency airstrip on Vis Island, where Allied forces had temporarily established a base. But fate was not on his side. The B-17 never made it to land. It crashed into the Adriatic Sea, and within moments, both the aircraft and its pilot vanished without a trace. The rest of the crew may have parachuted to safety, but Ernest, who held the controls until the very last second, was trapped and sank with his steel fortress. His family received only a short message from the Department of Defense. Second Lieutenant Ernest was killed in action. Body not recovered. They had no place to mourn, no grave, no goodbye. And so, time buried the memory under layers of dust. The war ended. New generations grew up, carrying a quiet sorrow passed down through the years. Until one day, a photo appeared in a photography magazine. Miraculously, Ernest's grandson, who had never known exactly where his grandfather had disappeared, came across the photo. He immediately reached out to Steve Jones, and thus began the delicate stitching of emotion between past and present. Steve recalled, "I was genuinely stunned when I received the message. They had been searching for him for almost 80 years, and I, someone with no connection to the war, just happened to be the one to help them find him." To Ernest's family, it was nothing short of a miracle. They had waited for a name, a location, a piece of evidence, and now they could finally bring him home, returning a part of the family's soul to its final resting place. What made the discovery even more moving was that the B-17, despite the force of the crash, remained eerily intact. Jones described it as if it had just landed at the bottom of the sea. The windows, cockpit, and wings all lay silent, claimed by time and water, yet untouched and undisturbed. It wasn't merely a hunk of steel. It was an underwater tomb, guarding the soul of a devoted soldier. Ernest's family is now working with authorities and international organizations to recover his remains and give him a proper burial back home. They plan to lay him to rest in a cemetery near where he grew up, the final place where memory can truly be at peace. What do you think about the fact that a regular person, not an archaeologist, not a soldier, was the one to reconnect a lost piece of history? Steve Jones never set out to change anyone's life, but with a single click of his camera underwater, he brought comfort to an entire family and helped rewrite a piece of forgotten history. This discovery is more than just a touching story. It reminds us that there are thousands, perhaps tens of thousands, of souls like Ernest, resting in places no one would ever think to look. Each one is a fragment of memory, and sometimes those memories just need a little light, from a flashlight beneath the sea or from a photograph, to come back to life. Do you believe that some memories are still waiting to be uncovered? Not from dust, but from the ocean floor? As for me, I absolutely do, because this world is full of mysteries. Even the most brilliant experts and the most advanced technology can't always explain. Stay with me through the rest of this video to explore some of the most stunning recent archaeological discoveries and the mysterious stories behind them as revealed by today's experts. 400 treasure-filled rooms hidden within a Turkish mountain gorge. In the dry, rocky mountains of western Turkey, where one might expect nothing but dust and silent cliffs, an archaeological discovery has amazed experts worldwide. A mountainside riddled with hundreds of large holes, as if someone had tried to carve a gigantic beehive right into the wild landscape. But when archaeologists ventured inside these openings, what they found was beyond imagination. 400 stone rooms, each as beautifully crafted as a modern luxury hotel suite, filled with treasures, artifacts, and human remains dating back more than 1,800 years. You heard that right. A hotel cemetery, hidden in a mountainside, silently standing for nearly 2 millennia. This is the largest stone tomb complex ever discovered in the world, located in the ancient city of Blandos, a once glorious urban center that thrived thousands of years ago, but now lies in ruins, about 112 miles east of the Aegean Sea. So why would a cemetery be so lavish? And what makes it so special that it shook the archaeological community? Let's travel back in time and explore right now. From the outside, you would see only a gray rocky cliff perforated with about 400 large holes, each as big as a doorway. But inside lies a different world. Burial chambers designed like fairy tale rooms, exquisitely curved vaulted ceilings, stone walls engraved with intricate patterns, and narrow stone pathways leading into separate spaces. Each room can hold one or multiple bodies, placed in finely crafted stone sarcophagi. Dr. Briel Can from Uşak University, the lead archaeologist, says that most of the remains were buried between the 2nd and 4th centuries AD, that is during the Roman Empire period. But it wasn't just burial. The ancients turned this final resting place into a symbol of power and wealth. In every chamber, they left luxurious grave goods, bronze mirrors, gold rings, silver cups, oil lamps, and coins. Unfortunately, many rooms had been visited by grave robbers over the centuries. Signs of vandalism are evident: chipped walls, open sarcophagi, and stolen treasures. Yet, what remains is enough to astonish the world. Can you imagine? Even a broken piece of pottery can offer vivid evidence of how ancient people viewed death, the afterlife, and the luxury of taking treasures to the grave. What makes this discovery captivating is not only the massive scale, 400 burial rooms in one area, but also the historical and architectural context. Blandos was more than a cemetery. It was a flourishing city under the Roman Empire. Archaeologists also found traces of a temple, an ancient basilica, a theater, public baths, a gymnasium, ornate gates, and an intricate underground water system. More than 1,800 years ago, this was a vibrant cultural, religious, and commercial hub, where wealthy nobles lived in silk and velvet, and upon death, rested in stone mansions carved into the mountain slopes. Their wealth extended beyond life, into the afterlife. Naturally, this raises many questions. For example, why did they choose to build tombs like luxury hotels instead of simple burial pits? Was it a way to display status and power, or simply a profound belief in life after death, where they still needed mirrors to look into, lamps to light the way, rings to wear, and gold to spend? Though these questions remain unanswered for now, Dr. Briel Can says the excavation at Blandos is ongoing. Beneath the ground lie more public, religious, and residential structures yet to be uncovered. This means bigger mysteries and more shocking discoveries might still be silently resting in the stone, waiting to be awakened. 2,000-year-old red remains in Herculaneum. This is the story of the fateful moment in 79 AD when Mount Vesuvius awoke with a roar, engulfing all life in ash and lava. Herculaneum, a picturesque town nestled in the shadow of the mighty Vesuvius, was once home to proud Roman citizens. But on one doomed day, the volcano erupted with devastating force, transforming the fertile land into an eternal graveyard. Not only Pompeii, where thousands of residents were frozen in their final moments, some sleeping, some working, others desperately fleeing, but Herculaneum too shared this tragic fate. Torrents of molten lava and thick ash buried everything, from grand homes to the lives screaming in despair. Among the ruins, the red remains found on Herculaneum's ancient beach have become a critical piece of the puzzle, recounting the story of a man facing his final moments in nature's wrath. The remains were identified as belonging to a man aged approximately 40 to 45 years, someone who may have been agonizingly close to survival. Archaeologists believe he fled to the beach just steps away from a rescue boat. Perhaps he was a brave soldier, rushing into danger to save panicked residents. But whoever he was, his fate was sealed in that horrific moment. A wooden roof, likely collapsed by the intense heat and pressure of the eruption, crushed his head, shattering his skull. Death came swiftly but painfully. So, what caused these remains to take on their eerie red hue, as if stained by some infernal dye? The answer lies in the man's own blood. As he fell, blood from his wounds seeped into his bones. The scorching lava, reaching temperatures of hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit, along with ash and debris from Vesuvius, quickly enveloped his body, creating a near-airtight environment. Under the extreme heat, the blood dried and adhered to the bones, acting like a natural dye. Over nearly 2,000 years, this dried blood was miraculously preserved, turning the remains into a vivid testament to the tragedy. The brilliant red is not only a trace of a painful death, but also a reminder of life's fragility against nature's power. This discovery sheds light not only on one man's fate, but also on the broader Vesuvius disaster. Though less famous than Pompeii, Herculaneum holds unique secrets due to its exceptional preservation conditions. The intense heat from the eruption sealed many artifacts and remains, allowing scientists to reconstruct the final moments of its inhabitants. A 2,500-year-old headless body still has an intact kidney. On a damp morning in the peaceful region of Belugie, Northern Ireland, where endless peat bogs stretch beneath thick fog, a shocking discovery stunned the entire archaeological community. What seemed like nothing more than deep, dark mud turned out to be hiding secrets buried for over 2 millennia. The story began like a modern-day crime case. In October 2023, the Police Service of Northern Ireland received a report of scattered human bones found in a bog. The area was immediately cordoned off. An investigation team was dispatched, fully prepared for what they thought would be a contemporary homicide. But no one expected this case to take them back 2,500 years. As archaeologists and forensic specialists began analyzing the remains, they quickly realized this was no modern tragedy. Although the skeleton was incomplete, it had been remarkably well preserved, thanks to the anaerobic conditions of the peat bog. Did you know that a bog, seemingly harsh and lifeless, is actually one of the best places on Earth for time to stand still? In such environments, decay enzymes are neutralized, bacteria struggle to survive, and bodies do not decompose the way they typically would. And because of that, this particular body survived 25 centuries in near-original condition. A section of skin from the left hand, fingernails, toenails, and, most astonishingly, a kidney were still intact. Yes, you read that correctly. A soft internal organ, normally the first to decompose in a human body, was still present after 2,500 years. This is such a rare phenomenon that it's nothing short of a miracle. What makes this discovery even more mysterious is that the skull was completely missing. Not a single trace of it was found. So what happened? Was this a ritual sacrifice, an ancient execution, or a mysterious death swallowed up by nature? These questions drove a team of experts to investigate with full force. The remains were identified as those of a male who died at only around 13 to 17 years old, a teenager, just as life should have been opening up before him. Inspector Nikki Dehan, who led the investigation, stated that this was one of the best preserved sets of remains ever found in the region. Because of this exceptional condition, researchers were able, for the first time ever in Northern Ireland, to apply carbon isotope dating to determine the precise time of death of a bog body. The 14 Chrono Research Centre at Queen's University Belfast concluded that the teenager had died sometime between 500 BCE and 0 CE during the Late Iron Age, a time when ancient beliefs, ritual sacrifices, and even brutal customs were still widely practiced across Europe. But that's not all. Researchers then used high-resolution ground-penetrating radar to scan the surrounding area. Thanks to this advanced technology, they discovered that the body had been buried at a depth of approximately 3.3 feet, a depth that perfectly matches the carbon dating results. This not only confirmed the burial timeframe, but also revealed how the body was hidden, or perhaps stored, within the bog. Even more intriguingly, the skeleton was discovered amidst a cluster of fossilized trees, which has led to a new theory. The boy may have died and been buried in a grassy field or a bushy area, or more disturbingly, he may have been swept into the bog by a natural force, such as a sudden flood or a landslide. Whether it was by chance or by design, his body sank, and from that moment on, time was sealed. A young boy, who lived thousands of years ago, suddenly vanished into the cold waters of the bog, and his preserved body has now become a key to unlocking a forgotten chapter of human history. Over 2,000 years later, modern people meet him for the first time, through a hand still wrapped in skin, a kidney still intact, and fragments of bone scattered among ancient mud. And what if he's not the only one? How many more headless bodies could be lying silently beneath the icy layers of peat, waiting to be discovered? Human remains in Pompeii's rubble move experts to tears. A death hidden for 2,000 years. The ancient city of Pompeii, a name long synonymous with sudden doom. Once a proud and thriving hub of the Roman Empire, it was reduced to a living hell in a single fateful day in 79 AD. But what haunts us most isn't the volcanic ash, it's the people, the stories buried beneath the ruins, now slowly returning to the modern world through the fragments of their remains. In May 2023, archaeologists announced a discovery that stirred deep emotions. 2 sets of human remains were found in the ruins of Pompeii, and they were so powerful, they brought seasoned experts to tears. The 2 men, both believed to be around 50 years old, did not die from scorching lava or searing ash columns. No, they were not burned alive like so many others discovered before. Their deaths were quieter, more tragic, buried beneath their own home. Gabriel Zuchtriegel, director of the Pompeii Archaeological Park, confirmed that both victims died due to a building collapse, a direct consequence of the eruption and the powerful earthquakes that followed. They didn't perish in the explosive fury of the volcano, but in a terrifying sequence of moments as their roof caved in, walls collapsed on their chests and spines, and every attempt at survival became hopeless. Imagine that moment. You're inside your familiar home, the last safe place amid a storm of fire. The roar of the volcano echoes, the ground shakes as if trying to swallow everything whole. And then, in an instant, the roof gives way. No time to run, no time to scream. Only darkness, ash, and eternal silence. The debris that crushed their bodies still bears cracks, evidence of the tremendous weight of volcanic rock and the violent tremors that brought the entire structure down. No one outside knew they were there. No one came to save them. And for nearly 2 millennia, they remained silent, with no one to tell their story. Until now. Pompeii is no stranger to shocking discoveries, but archaeologists say the emotions they felt this time were unlike anything in previous excavations. Because these 2 weren't found in a public square, or on a street, or in a bathhouse, they were found in what had once been a home, possibly the one place they believed would keep them safe. And it's that intimacy, that everyday familiarity, that makes this tragedy cut deeper than ever. Back in 2020, Pompeii made headlines when archaeologists uncovered 2 skeletons lying atop one another in the Civita Juliana area, a wealthy suburb of the ancient city. It's believed one was a wealthy nobleman, the other his male slave. They tried to flee when Mount Vesuvius erupted, but the ash cloud was too fast, too thick. They suffocated, buried under nearly 6.5 feet of volcanic ash, as if nature itself refused to give them one last chance. Even earlier, in 2018, Another haunting discovery: the remains of a man crushed by a massive stone block. He may have been running, perhaps believing he'd survive if he just made it a few steps farther. But luck had run out. The stone had rolled off a collapsing roof, slamming down and crushing him right in the street. Death came swiftly, violently, and full of despair. All these fragments, from noblemen to slaves, from those who ran to those buried inside their homes, reveal a brutal truth. Pompeii chose no one. It killed everyone, no matter their status. It didn't care if they were rich or poor. It didn't even ask for their names. And the discoveries, like those of May 2023, are more than just archaeological stories. They are witnesses to a collective tragedy where every death carried very human emotions: fear, helplessness, hope, and despair. But you know what's strange? In Pompeii, the catastrophe itself became the reason time stopped. Mount Vesuvius didn't just bury the city, it preserved it. Everything was frozen in place, from wall paintings, household tools, to uneaten loaves of bread still in the oven, and human remains in their final postures. Horrifying discovery. Inside this 4,000-year-old Egyptian tomb, left archaeologists speechless. Do you believe that beneath the dry Egyptian desert, buried under layers of earth and rock for millennia, there lies a secret never before revealed? A 4,000-year-old tomb containing two strange nested coffins holding the remains of a noblewoman from the ruling class of ancient Egypt? Yes, you heard that right. In today's video, we will explore a groundbreaking archaeological discovery that has shocked the world, where every detail from the hieroglyphic inscriptions on the wood to the small accompanying statues tells a breathtaking story of power, religion, and death. This discovery comes from the Asyut region, a political and cultural center of ancient Egypt. Here, archaeologists unearthed a very special tomb belonging to Idi, the daughter of Jephai-Hapi, the most powerful governor of the area during the reign of Pharaoh Senwosret I, around 1961 to 1917 BCE. But what astonished the archaeological community was not just the identity of the person buried inside. The most remarkable aspect was the unusual burial structure: two wooden coffins nested inside each other, still intact after 4 millennia. The outer coffin measures about 8.5 feet long, enclosing the inner coffin, which is about 7.5 feet long. This is not only an elaborate burial technique, but also a symbol of the high status of the deceased. On the surface of the coffins, researchers discovered intricate hieroglyphic texts, sacred inscriptions describing the soul's journey to the afterlife, according to ancient Egyptian beliefs. Professor Kathleen Cooney, an expert in ancient Egyptian art and architecture, affirmed that this is one of the most important sources for studying the funerary beliefs and rituals of ancient Egypt. Meanwhile, Associate Professor Caroline Arbuckle believes these characters can help us better understand how the ancients interpreted life after death. Yet the question arises: why was a woman, even the daughter of a governor, buried in such a special structure? Is there a story behind this that has never been told? Although the tomb was looted in ancient times, fortunately, part of Idi's skeleton remains preserved. Scientific analysis shows that Idi died before the age of 40 and may have had a congenital deformity in her foot. This small detail could open up stories about health, social roles, and even spirituality during that era. Identifying Idi's identity and physical characteristics makes the story come alive, as if we are traveling back in time to witness her life firsthand. Besides the coffins, the excavation team also found two small wooden statues. Experts suggest that one of them may be a portrait of Idi herself, a priceless addition to the scarce collection of funerary portrait statues. The second statue depicts a woman in procession. According to Professor Francesco Tiradriti from Corey University, it very likely represents the spirit of Idi leaving the earthly realm to begin her journey into the afterlife. These statues are not mere decorations, but petrified memories that narrate parts of an ancient life. On the coffin, the hieroglyphs state that Idi was the woman of the house, a title carrying great social significance in ancient Egypt. According to Egyptologist Wolfram Grajecki, this was not only a familial role, but also reflected a noble social position, possibly connected to rituals or religious status. It is fascinating that with just a few lines of text, a vivid historical, social, and religious picture of ancient Egypt emerges so clearly. Over more than 130 years of excavations in Asyut, many ancient tombs have been found. However, most artifacts were scattered, lost, or stored separately in museums around the world. This time is different. Idai's tomb was discovered and analyzed by a modern research team with data recorded comprehensively and systematically. This opens a new chapter for archaeology, where information is preserved and every detail can connect to illuminate history. The story of Idi, the woman from 4,000 years ago, has opened a gate to the past. But if you think her story ends here, think again. This is only one piece of the vast archaeological puzzle we are gradually uncovering. The upcoming discoveries in this video will take you to forgotten temples, unopened tombs, and even ancient curses that have made entire archaeological teams stop in fear. If you are already overwhelmed by the mystery of this 4,000-year-old tomb, get ready, because the next journey will be even more mysterious and haunting. So what are these mysterious discoveries? Let's start exploring right now. The 3,000-year-old tomb and the mysterious stone that challenged science. Recently, archaeologists on the Dingle Peninsula in County Kerry, southwest Ireland, discovered an ancient tomb estimated to be over 3,000 years old. But what truly shocked researchers wasn't just its age, it was what lay hidden inside. From the very first moments of excavation, the team realized this was no ordinary tomb. Buried deep underground, it was enclosed by a sealed stone structure, a type of architecture commonly seen in Bronze Age burial chambers. At the top lay a large stone slab, firmly set in place like a seal from the past, protecting mysteries untouched for millennia. Are you curious? What made experts call this one of the most pristine and unique discoveries in Ireland? First, it's the tomb's intact condition. It had never been disturbed or looted, which is extremely rare for ancient sites. Then, as they explored further, the team was stunned to find a smooth, oval-shaped stone lying right next to human skeletal remains. This object had no decorations or markings, and to this day, scientists have yet to determine its true purpose. Is it a ritual item? Or perhaps it carries a spiritual meaning that we have yet to understand. What do you think? Is it a symbol or maybe a key, unlocking secrets of the Bronze Age? Ronan Casey, a spokesperson for Ireland's National Monument Service, shared that the tomb may date to the early Bronze Age, roughly between 4,500 and 2,500 years BCE. However, to confirm this, they had to collect bone samples and send them to a lab for radiocarbon dating. The official results are still pending, but early indications suggest this is an incredibly ancient tomb. Another remarkable aspect is its location. The Dingle Peninsula is already known for significant Bronze Age archaeological sites. Yet this tomb displays architectural features and a layout completely different from previously found burial sites in the area. This difference raises many questions. Could this represent a distinct cultural branch? Or a funerary custom reserved for special individuals, perhaps leaders, shamans, or nobility? To answer these questions, let's set them aside for now and look at another ancient monument, Newgrange, a famous tomb near the River Boyne, north of Dublin. This tomb is renowned not only for its great age, over 5,000 years old, but also for its carefully designed structure that allows sunlight to penetrate its passageway and illuminate the burial chamber at the winter solstice. This is clear evidence that people at the time had advanced knowledge of astronomy and architecture. So, could the newly discovered tomb at Dingle rival the grandeur of sites like Newgrange? It's very possible. The tomb's mystery and uniqueness open a completely new avenue for research. If further analysis confirms its ancient date, and if that smooth oval stone truly holds symbolic value, we could be witnessing a groundbreaking archaeological turning point, a site never before recorded in Irish history. What does this mean? Very likely, we are seeing the earliest traces of an unknown ancient culture that existed alongside, or even before, the civilizations already documented in the region. 17 skeletons in an 800-year-old well, a bloody mystery buried beneath England's soil. Back in 2004, when the first excavators dug into the earth preparing to build a new shopping complex, the workers had no idea they would encounter such a haunting sight. 17 human skeletons piled up at the bottom of the well. But the most terrifying part wasn't the number. It was the posture and arrangement. These remains were not buried with the solemn respect typical of ancient graves. Instead, their bodies were thrown chaotically into the well, heads pointing downward, limbs twisted, bones stacked on top of one another as if discarded. No sign of respect or burial rites. This wasn't an accident. This was a tragedy. What happened? Who were these people? And why were they left to rest like this in the shadows of history? These questions became an obsession for archaeologists. This was no ordinary excavation. The well, now a mass grave, held faint yet heavy traces of a centuries-old tragedy long hidden. Immediately after the discovery, a team of experts was assembled to thoroughly investigate each skeleton. They used advanced DNA analysis technology, and here, the truth began to emerge. Among the 17 skeletons, at least 6 shared the same genetic profile, indicating they were relatives, heartbreakingly, including 3 sisters, one of whom was only 10 years old at the time of death. This was no random group of strangers. This was a family who faced their tragic final moments together. They didn't die from disease. They didn't die from accident. They died from violence, hatred, and religion. After months of study, genetic analysis revealed something even more unusual. All the victims carried genetic markers of the Ashkenazi Jewish community, a group of Jews living scattered throughout medieval Europe. And that was the clue historians used to trace the roots of the event. Historical records show that in February 1190, a date matching the well's timeline, a bloody riot erupted right in Norwich, where the Jewish community lived. During the Third Crusade, anti-Jewish sentiments swept across England. Religion, instead of being a spiritual refuge, became a justification for brutal persecution. The Jews of Norwich were blamed, suspected, pushed to the edge of survival. Then, disaster struck. Many were killed, regardless of age or gender. Those who couldn't escape, like the ill-fated family at the bottom of the well, were captured and thrown into the darkest place, as if to erase every trace of their existence. For centuries, the well lay silent beneath the earth. No stories told, no tombstone. But now, archaeologists have given voice to those forgotten souls. And you see, if not for the accidental digging by workers back then, perhaps the world would never have known this story. A story where every bone fragment, every strand of DNA, every historical detail helps piece together the tragic portrait of a hidden crime. The Norwich discovery is not just an archaeological milestone. It is a powerful reminder that the past, though forgotten, leaves its marks. And only when we patiently dig deeper, listen, and understand, can the pieces of history reconnect. So when you look at the image of those 17 skeletons, what do you feel? Curiosity? Fear? Or sorrow for the lives buried simply because of religious difference? Nazi secret base in the Arctic. Where did Hitler hide his war secrets? If I told you that beneath one of the harshest frozen lands on Earth, where temperatures can plunge to -40 degrees Fahrenheit and the wind howls nonstop day and night, lies a military secret buried for nearly 8 decades, would you believe it? A secret Nazi base, quietly existing in the Arctic, was uncovered in October 2016, shocking archaeologists and military experts worldwide. Yes, you heard that right. A military base built by Hitler right in the eternal ice of Alexandra Land, a remote part of Russia's Franz Josef Archipelago, was discovered. The base was codenamed Schatzgräber, which literally means treasure hunter. The name alone raises a host of questions. Was this merely a military outpost? Or was it actually constructed to serve secret plans of hunting treasures, an obsession Hitler reportedly carried throughout his life? Let's go back to 1943, the height of World War II. Just 1 year after Hitler launched a full-scale invasion of the Soviet Union, the Germans began building the Schatzgräber base in this far-flung Arctic region. Looking at a strategic map, you might ask, why build a base in such a desolate, freezing place so far from any major military center? But that's exactly what makes the 2016 discovery so stunning. No one expected that right in a place thought to be covered only by snow and polar bears, there would be a mysterious Nazi military relic. After years of surveying the area, Russian archaeologists finally set foot in what had been a forbidden zone. What they found exceeded all expectations. Over 500 artifacts were excavated, including bullet casings, rusted military equipment, fragments of German documents, food containers, and even tunnels. Sturdy bunkers still intact beneath thick ice. More than 70 years later, the Arctic ice, harsh but acting as a natural freezer, preserved the base from complete destruction by time. This haunting discovery also sparked countless theories. Why was a military base so highly secretive? And why was it abruptly abandoned after just 1 year of operation? The answer may send chills down your spine. The German soldiers stationed there were poisoned, not by weapons or bombs, but by polar bear meat. They hunted bears for food, unaware that improperly prepared polar bear meat can contain deadly toxins. The entire group suffered severe poisoning, none strong enough to stay, forcing the base to be abandoned in 1944. The silent death of a base, buried under ice and forgotten by time, until awakened by modern archaeologists. But let's return to the name Schatzgräber, treasure hunter. Was this base simply a supply outpost or a weather monitoring station like many other Arctic bases? Or did it have a secret mission, never recorded in official documents? Some scholars and historians have boldly hypothesized this base was built as a center for searching ancient artifacts, perhaps relics of forgotten civilizations. This is no mere fantasy. Hitler, as is well known, was obsessed with legends, ancient religions, and mystical treasures such as relics, the Spear of Destiny, or the Legend of Atlantis. He even sent expeditions to Tibet, the Middle East, and Antarctica to find divine weapons to turn the tide of war. Could Schatzgräber have been one of the stops on that treasure hunt? Another more strategic theory suggests the base was used to monitor and support German submarines navigating the Arctic Ocean route. If true, this reveals the terrifying military foresight of Nazi Germany, willing to build bases in frozen wastelands to gain naval superiority. Of course, none of this is certain yet, but whether for artifact hunting or military strategy, one fact is undeniable. The Schatzgräber base is a major historical blind spot of World War II. Its discovery pulls back the curtain on untold chapters of the past. Today, following this discovery, the Russian government has taken control of the area and is building a modern base there, serving both scientific research and military purposes. A surprising coincidence, the site of a secret Nazi base is now becoming a strategic Russian location in the 21st century. Could it be that these frozen lands still hold a role in human history? How many more secret bases like Schatzgräber remain silent beneath Arctic ice? How many wartime secrets are buried, waiting to be uncovered? And among these white ice masses, could there still be clues showing Hitler's desire to expand the war to the ends of the earth? The answer may still be lying quietly, deep in the frozen ground, waiting for archaeologists and experts to brave all dangers and bring it to light, my friends. A nearly 1,000-year-old Korean king's tomb, found intact, body undecayed, stunned scientists. Kaesong, a name once thought to live only in history books, suddenly became the center of global attention after a shocking archaeological discovery. A royal tomb almost 1,000 years old, confirmed as the final resting place of King Sukjong, the 15th monarch of the Goryeo dynasty, a once glorious kingdom in East Asia. The story began with a quiet yet determined expedition by experts from the National Heritage Conservation Agency and the State Academy of Sciences of North Korea. After months of geological surveys and sophisticated archaeological analysis, they finally pinpointed a mysterious location, possibly the tomb of a ruler who reigned in the 11th century. Then, after more than 20 continuous days of excavation, beneath layers of earth and stone that seemed lifeless, a heavy stone door leading deep underground was revealed, as if time itself sighed and allowed humanity to step back into the past. Behind that door lay a burial complex nearly 95 feet wide, divided into 3 separate chambers, separated by dense layers of earth and rock. A structure so sturdy and meticulously crafted that even the most seasoned experts were left in awe. But that was only the beginning. What truly stunned archaeologists was the body of King Sukjong. After nearly 1,000 years of rest, his corpse remained miraculously intact. His face, hands, and even the royal silk garments were still clearly visible. There was no sign of the usual decay seen in ancient tombs. This was not just a strange phenomenon, it posed a major question for modern science. Did the Goryeo people possess some lost embalming technique? Or did the unique soil conditions of Kaesong, its moisture, mineral content, and climate, play a role in preserving this near-perfect body? Experts are now racing to decode this mystery, and who knows, what they discover may change how we understand ancient preservation technology in Asia. What do you think? Could ancient techniques surpass even modern technology? It's impossible to overlook Kaesong's special place, the political, cultural, and religious heart of Goryeo for centuries. This was not only where dynasties built their thrones, but also a center for Buddhism, art, and knowledge. The discovery of King Seokjeong's tomb right here is like history itself, confirming the value of a civilization once regarded as the bridge between ancient China and Japan. King Seokjeong was a remarkable figure. He ruled from 1054 to 1105, over half a century, and carried out fundamental reforms for his kingdom. He was the first to issue official currency in Korean history, a giant leap marking the shift from barter to a modern monetary system. More than that, Seokjeong established Namgyeong, today's Seoul, as the country's second capital, showing strategic vision and ambition to expand influence southward. Therefore, his tomb is more than a resting place. It's a treasure trove holding the legacy of an era. The artifacts found inside, from jewelry and royal robes to handwritten texts, could be invaluable clues helping historians reconstruct royal life, funerary rituals, and the intricate social structure of the nobility. Can you imagine? Each item unearthed is a tiny key opening the door to a lost world. A hairpin might tell the story of a queen's power. A jade Buddha statue could reveal court ceremonial rites. Every detail is worth more than gold. Currently, the team of experts is tirelessly working on site. They use 3D scanning technology, DNA analysis, and soil studies to paint the fullest picture of the tomb and its legendary king. It's expected to take years to fully unlock the potential of this discovery, and very likely, deeper secrets beyond the tomb remain hidden beneath Kaesong soil. This find doesn't just revive a forgotten chapter of history, it reminds us of the magical power of archaeology, where every shovel not only digs the earth, but also uncovers the past. Each revealed relic is a whisper from history, an echo of a once flourishing dynasty that shone brightly before fading into oblivion. Terrifying archaeological discoveries that shock the world and defy scientific explanation. Have you ever wondered, is everything we know about the past really the whole truth? In the world of archaeology, discoveries don't always provide answers. Sometimes they raise even more terrifying questions. From skeletal remains twisted into impossible positions, to objects that seem not of this world, to ancient structures buried deep underground with construction techniques far beyond their time. All these findings share one thing in common. They completely baffle scientists who cannot offer any convincing explanations. So, what really happened? Who or what left behind these strange traces? In today's video, we will explore some of the most frightening and mysterious archaeological discoveries ever found. Evidence that sends chills down viewers' spines and forces us to rethink human history. Brace yourself, because what's coming is not for the faint of heart. Are you ready? If so, let's start with the first discovery. 66-million-year-old dinosaur egg in China. To start today's video, let's turn back the clock to the Cretaceous period to explore the story of one of the most astonishing archaeological treasures to shake the scientific world. A dinosaur egg containing baby Yingliang, one of the most perfectly preserved dinosaur embryos ever discovered. The story began in December 2021 in Guangzhou City, Jiangxi Province, China, when researchers announced the discovery of a rare dinosaur egg dated at least 66 million years old. But what makes this find truly special is not just the age of the egg, it's what's inside. An unborn dinosaur embryo affectionately named Baby Yingliang by scientists. Are you curious why the scientific community holds this specimen in such high regard? The answer lies in the extraordinary level of preservation. Most dinosaur embryos we've known about are only fragments of bones, too scattered to determine their original shape. But baby Yingliang is different. Its form is astonishingly intact, curled inside the egg, just like a hatchling bird ready to break through its shell. This posture made researchers exclaim, It's as if we're looking directly at the ancestor of today's birds. Among the research team, Professor Steve Brusata from the University of Edinburgh shared his feelings upon first seeing baby yingliang. "This is one of the most beautiful and complete dinosaur embryos I've ever seen. It looks like a baby bird about to hatch. Can you feel that sense of wonder? The image of an ancient creature, sleeping quietly inside its egg for tens of millions of years, suddenly appearing like a vivid picture of evolution." According to scientific analysis, baby yingliang belongs to the Oviraptorosauria group, a branch of dinosaurs that looked quite bird-like, had no teeth, and once lived widely across regions that are now Asia and North America. This group existed during the Cretaceous period, the final era of the dinosaurs before the mass extinction event. An interesting fact about Oviraptorosauria is their surprising diversity in both appearance and behavior. Some species were as small as a turkey, while others grew as large as 26 feet long. Baby yingliang, when discovered, was only about 10.6 inches long, neatly curled inside an egg about 6.7 inches long. However, if it had survived and grown, it could have reached lengths between 6.5 to 10 feet and was likely a plant-eating dinosaur. So, how did this dinosaur egg remain so well preserved after tens of millions of years? The answer lies in a miraculous natural coincidence. Scientists believe a landslide millions of years ago may have buried the egg just after it was laid or before baby yingliang could hatch. This sudden burial created an ideal environment for preservation, keeping the biological structure inside the egg intact, like a perfect biological time capsule. But the biggest surprise is that for decades, baby yingliang's egg lay quietly in storage along with other dinosaur eggs, forgotten among thousands of unidentified specimens until the research team revisited it. Like an excavation inside their own storage, they decided to remove part of the eggshell, and baby yingliang appeared, marking one of the most miraculous archaeological discoveries of the 21st century. Today, this dinosaur egg is exhibited at the Yingliang Natural History Museum, where thousands of visitors and scientists from around the world come to admire and study it. With discoveries like this, the line between past and present seems to blur. They not only help us better understand the evolutionary process from dinosaurs to modern birds, but also make us ask, how many other secrets of the Earth are still sleeping beneath the dust of time? Ruins of temples and treasure ships in the Egyptian Sea. Imagine yourself diving deep to the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. The cold water surrounds you, and faint light barely filters through the suspended fine sand. Then, before your eyes, an ancient stone column appears, a broken piece of pottery, or even the ruins of a temple that once stood tall thousands of years ago. What you're seeing is not a Hollywood movie scene, but a real archaeological discovery unfolding beneath the waters of Egypt, where the two ancient cities of Heracleion and Canopus have just revealed secrets buried for over a millennium. So, what makes this discovery so extraordinary that the entire scientific world is watching? Let's explore this spectacular journey that reconnects us with civilizations long forgotten, now being awakened from the ocean's depths. Heracleion, a name straight out of Greek mythology, was once one of the largest ports of ancient Egypt. About 1,200 years ago, this bustling hub of merchant ships, temples, and festivals suddenly vanished without a trace, as if cursed by the gods. It wasn't until the year 2000 that brave divers accidentally found its remains on the seabed near the Nile Delta. Since then, Heracleion has become an underwater archaeological sanctuary, attracting dozens of research teams from around the world. This year, after 2 months of continuous surveying, Egyptian scientists teamed up with European experts using cutting-edge scanning technology, some of the most advanced tools available today, to explore deeper into the submerged site. The result? They discovered the ruins of an ancient Greek temple, with numerous stone columns and finely crafted pottery dating back to the 3rd and 4th centuries before Common Era. Those seemingly ordinary fragments whisper stories that no history book can reach. Can you imagine? Deep underwater, they found bronze coins from the time of King Ptolemy II, who ruled Egypt from 283 to 246 BCE. These coins were not just currency, but symbols of political power, marks of a dynasty's reign. They didn't simply appear on the sea floor. They sank along with an entire city in a catastrophic geological event that researchers still haven't fully decoded. But that's not all. Less than a mile away from Heracleion, another sunken city, Canopus, continues to unveil new mysteries. During this expedition, the map of Canopus expanded with the discovery of ancient buildings and docks that once welcomed hundreds of merchant ships loaded with spices, gemstones, and luxury goods from across the Mediterranean. Here, archaeologists also unearthed numerous gold and bronze coins, as well as exquisite jewelry such as rings and earrings. What's remarkable is that these artifacts span multiple periods, from the Ptolemaic dynasty, when Egypt was ruled by the descendants of Alexander the Great, to the Byzantine era, showing a long-lasting cultural exchange between major civilizations. It's hard not to wonder, why did both these great cities sink beneath the sea? Although scientists are still debating, many hypotheses suggest that strong earthquakes and land subsidence caused the Nile's riverbanks to collapse, swallowing these prosperous cities into the ocean. Yet, this destruction unintentionally preserved priceless heritage. Ancient shipwrecks, though their wooden hulls have decayed, still hold many intact artifacts such as ceramic bowls, coins, and personal jewelry. Each item is a piece of the puzzle that helps archaeologists reconstruct vivid scenes of daily life, trade, religion, and culture in ancient times. Beneath meters-thick sediment, where a temple floor once was, they found a broken ceramic jar next to a tiny gold ring that might have belonged to a wealthy merchant or a forgotten princess. That feeling, standing where a glorious center once thrived, now silent beneath the deep sea, must be one of the most enchanting moments for any archaeologist. Based on these new discoveries, experts believe many more structures remain buried quietly in the ocean sand. Every dive isn't just a survey. It's a conversation with the past, an invitation from lost civilizations. Modern technology helps us peel back layers of time's sediment, gradually reconnecting us to people who lived thousands of years ago. And you know what? The amazing thing is that this journey is still ongoing. Scientists confirm that they have only touched the tip of the iceberg. With each survey, each new map drawn, we get closer to truly understanding the life of ancient Egyptians, not only through pyramids and mummies, but through what the sea has swallowed. What if, one day, beneath those vast waters, the lost library of Alexandria or the remains of a mysterious palace never recorded in history are found? Those mysteries may be waiting right under the mud and sand, just a few feet of seawater away. Because the world of archaeology never stops astonishing us, does it? The Temple of the Flayed God in Mexico. In the state of Puebla, Mexico, a recent excavation at the ruins of the ancient Papaloca civilization has led archaeologists to a previously undiscovered site, the first known temple dedicated to the god Totec, an ancient fertility deity often depicted as a flayed corpse wearing human skin. That image alone might make your skin crawl. But don't look away just yet. Behind this haunting figure lies a deep and complex belief system, one that shaped an entire civilization's understanding of life, death, and rebirth. Did you know that in pre-Hispanic cultures, particularly among the Aztec and Papaloca peoples, human sacrifice wasn't seen as bloodthirsty cruelty, but rather as a sacred religious act? They believed that for the earth to remain fertile and life to continue, the gods needed to be nourished by the very essence of life itself, human life. And Totec was the divine embodiment of this sacred cycle, a god who wore the skin of a sacrificed victim to symbolize shedding, seasonal renewal, and the unstoppable rebirth of nature. So what makes this newly uncovered temple so special? To begin with, Totec had long been known through ancient texts and Aztec carvings, but until now, archaeologists had never uncovered a complete temple dedicated solely to him. According to Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History, INAH, what was unearthed at the Indachjan Tehuacan complex wasn't just the foundation of a temple, but direct evidence of sacrificial rituals that took place there. Specifically, experts found 2 stone carvings shaped like skulls and a sculpted stone torso believed to represent Totec himself. The most chilling detail? A second hand dangling from the statue's arm, a hauntingly accurate depiction of the god wearing the flayed skin of a sacrificial victim. It's an image that could send shivers down anyone's spine. But for the ancient people, this was sacred. New life born out of ultimate death. Have you ever heard of ritual skinning in ancient religion? This was an essential part of Papalaca and Aztec spiritual practice. Priests would sacrifice a victim by removing their skin, not as torture, but as an act of transformation. The priest would then wear the skin for several days as a symbolic unification with Zip-Totec. In this belief system, human skin ceased to be horrifying. It became a sacred symbol of new harvests, of divine nourishment, and of a community's prosperity. Archaeologist Susan Gillespie of the University of Florida noted that the discovery of a statue depicting a figure wearing flayed skin is the most compelling evidence yet of a direct connection between Zip-Totec and a specific ceremonial site. Until now, human skins and other sacrificial remains were often removed and relocated after rituals, making it nearly impossible to confirm the exact locations of temples dedicated to this deity. But this time is different. Everything was found in situ, offering a new window into ancient ritual and the importance of Zip-Totec in early Mexican religion. Dating analysis suggests that the temple was constructed sometime between AD 1000 and 1260, the golden age of the Papaloca civilization. Later, the region was conquered by the Aztecs, and the worship of Zip-Totec continued and even intensified. This reveals just how far-reaching and resilient certain beliefs were, spreading from indigenous communities to great empires and persisting even now when stone statues still spark curiosity, unease, and awe. Have you noticed what's truly fascinating here? While modern cultures often view life and death as opposite extremes, the Papaloca people united both in a single ritual. To them, death was not an ending. It was a transition, a doorway to rebirth. And so their god, Zip-Totec, wore human skin like a symbol of resurrection, carrying a message of reborn land, renewed crops, and continued life for humankind. The discovery of Zip-Totec's temple is not just a triumph of Mexican archaeology. It is a breakthrough in our understanding of ancient religious belief. It allows us to not only see the artifacts of the past, but to hear its voice, to feel the faith, fear, and hope of people who once lived, loved, believed, and sacrificed for something far greater than themselves. A stunning 2,300-year-old mural discovered inside an ancient room in Italy. The story began when a team of archaeologists started excavating a previously overlooked area near the ancient administrative and religious center of Rome. What they found exceeded all expectations. A vast house, built and decorated with remarkable sophistication. It was immediately clear that this wasn't an ordinary residence. Its impressive size, luxurious materials, and refined layout all pointed to one conclusion. The house likely belonged to a noble family, perhaps even a powerful Roman senator. But the true centerpiece that stunned the archaeological world was a particular room within the home, a space seemingly untouched by time, where a mural stretching over 16 feet long emerged in breathtaking clarity. Despite more than 2 millennia passing, the details remain sharp, the colors vibrant, as if the paint had only dried yesterday. So what allowed it to withstand the destructive power of time? The answer lies in the techniques and materials used by ancient Roman artisans. They didn't merely paint on the wall, they created true artwork by embedding finely ground seashells, marble, and even rare blue stones from distant Egypt. These materials were meticulously assembled in the rustico style, rustic yet refined, natural yet unmistakably regal. You might wonder, how can a rustic style blend with luxury? But that very contrast became a hallmark of early Roman art. Dive deeper into the mural, and it feels as if you're stepping into a mythological tale. Flowing vines drape across the wall, lotus leaves flutter in imagined breezes, sharp tridents recall the sea god Poseidon, victory trumpets echo in the mind, and the gleaming helmets of warriors shimmer in the light. Most striking of all are the legendary sea creatures, coastal landscapes, and sailing ships charging toward the horizon, seemingly reenacting a glorious battle. According to the research team, certain details in the artwork suggest that it wasn't just decorative, it was symbolic of military triumph. More specifically, the mural appears to celebrate victories both on land and at sea by the home's owner. This led archaeologists to propose a compelling theory. The homeowner may not only have been a powerful politician, but also a brilliant general who once led Roman legions to victory. Yet the fascination doesn't stop there. The room where the mural resides wasn't constructed in the typical Roman architectural style. Instead, it was designed to mimic the shape of a cave, an incredibly unique feature. Why this design choice? Experts believe it served as a banquet room, where Roman elites hosted lavish gatherings during the sweltering summer months. The cave-like design helped keep the space cool, offering a connection to nature while maintaining an air of opulence, perfectly reflecting the extravagant lifestyle of the Roman aristocracy. Can you picture it? Men in ivory white togas, goblets of wine in hand, reclining on cushioned stone benches, surrounded by the soft glow of oil lamps. Music drifting gently through the air, the aroma of steaming delicacies wafting around them. And on the wall, that epic mural, serving as a vivid testament to the homeowner's glory, telling their story through every dynamic detail. Each feast was a reaffirmation of power, a message to guests. I am not only wealthy, I am victorious. Dr. Alfonsina Russo, director of the Colosseum Archaeological Park, described it as one of the most inspiring discoveries in recent years, not only because of the mural's artistic value, but also because it opens an entirely new window into the lives, thoughts, and culture of ancient Rome's upper class. Discovery of the 800-million-year-old Thistle princess's coffin in Siberia. Archaeologists left speechless. Welcome to the Ancient History Channel, where archaeological mysteries are unearthed and revealed day by day. Today we're diving into a story that has not only stunned the scientific community, but also shocked the world to its core, so unbelievable that many still question if their eyes are deceiving them. Have you ever heard of earth-shattering archaeological discoveries? Ancient mummies, lost civilizations, or mysteries surrounding human origins? But there's one discovery that surpasses everything you thought you knew. An 800-million-year-old stone coffin unearthed in Siberia, Russia, containing a breathtakingly beautiful woman whose body has not decayed for hundreds of millions of years. Yes, you heard that right. A discovery so mind-boggling that scientists were left speechless by its mystery and extraordinary nature. Right now, let's revisit this incredible tale to understand why the Thistle princess has become one of the greatest archaeological enigmas in human history, challenging all established laws of history and modern evolution. The story begins in 1969 in a small town called Rozovchik, located in Kemerovo province, deep in the frozen lands of Siberia, Russia. A group of miners was digging about 230 feet underground when miner Karnakov unexpectedly struck something unusual, a massive stone coffin, quietly resting beneath layers of earth and rock for what seemed like millions of years. The site supervisor, Alexander Masalagin, immediately ordered all mining operations to stop. The heavy stone sarcophagus was brought to the surface, and that's when the miracle happened. When the solidified layer of ancient grease on the lid was broken open, what emerged was a scene unlike anything in the history of archaeology. Inside was a mesmerizingly beautiful young woman, lying peacefully as if in deep sleep, immersed in a shimmering blue liquid. She was around 5 feet 11 inches tall, with deep blue eyes, thick curly blonde hair, and pristine white hands with delicate fingers gently folded over her stomach. The transparent white gown she wore had multicolored embroidery along the sleeves and left everyone in awe. It was made of a material so advanced that modern science still cannot analyze or reproduce it. She was respectfully named the Thistle Princess, after the region where the mysterious sarcophagus was discovered. Upon discovery, the mine supervisor immediately notified local authorities. Firefighters, police, and even military units were deployed to the site to secure the entire area. Most notably, at around 2 p.m. the same day, a military aircraft landed at the site, bringing over a dozen Air Force personnel who quickly sealed off the area and declared it a highly dangerous infectious zone, barring anyone from entering. This sudden action outraged local residents, sparking small-scale protests and unrest. During transportation, due to the coffin's immense weight, the military decided to drain some of the blue liquid to make it lighter. But what happened next chilled everyone to the bone. The moment the liquid was removed, the princess's body instantly turned black and began decomposing visibly. In panic, the soldiers quickly poured the liquid back in. A minute later, her body returned to its original lifelike appearance, rosy cheeks and all, as if untouched by time. Scientists were assigned to study the stone coffin and the woman inside. Just days later, an elderly professor made a shocking statement. The sarcophagus was at least 800 million years old. Do you realize what 800 million years ago means? That was the Carboniferous period, when Earth was still ruled by plants. Humans hadn't even appeared yet. Dinosaurs hadn't evolved, and complex animal life was only just beginning to emerge. So how could a fully formed human woman with such refined biological features have been preserved so perfectly for hundreds of millions of years? This finding forced the entire fields of archaeology, history, and biology to confront new questions, even entertaining the possibility of a highly advanced prehistoric civilization. But what stood out wasn't just the perfectly preserved body. It was the mysterious blue liquid, as clear as glass, that prevented decomposition for all that time. Scientists discovered it contained natural antibacterial components similar to garlic and onion, but most other elements remained impossible to identify or reproduce. Strangely, as noted earlier, draining the liquid caused immediate decay, while adding it back instantly restored the body. This implies the substance had cell regeneration and tissue repair capabilities far beyond current biotechnology. Even the princess's dress remains an unsolved mystery. Despite advanced scientific analysis, researchers couldn't identify its material, nor replicate it. On top of that, lying next to her head was a black metallic box, about 10 inches by 4 inches, with rounded corners, looking eerily similar to a large smartphone. From this detail, Vadim Grishin, a Siberian parapsychologist, proposed a radical theory. The Tisol princess might be a bioengineered humanoid, the creation of a super-advanced prehistoric civilization. The box could contain an artificial brain or serve as a device to reactivate her in the future. Some even speculate she might be an alien or the product of an extinct advanced human race. But the most shocking twist? DNA analysis revealed her genetic makeup was nearly identical to that of modern Russians. This raised an even deeper question. Could we be direct descendants of an ancient race that lived hundreds of millions of years ago? If true, Darwin's theory of evolution would need to be completely reevaluated. The story gets even darker. One curious individual once touched a small amount of the blue liquid and tasted it. Within a week, he went insane. Months later, he was found frozen to death on his own doorstep. Moreover, 6 members of the excavation team later died under mysterious, unexplained circumstances. Rumors began circulating that the Tisol princess was cursed, and anyone who disturbed her would pay a deadly price. Because of these bizarre events, Russian authorities ordered the entire excavation site to be sealed off, the mine to be filled in, and all activity in the area shut down. In 1972, under the command of Yuri Andropov, then head of the KGB, the site was declared top secret and all related data was classified. Still, some details began to leak through ex-military personnel, independent researchers, and journalists. By 2002, a sensational article titled "The 800 Million Year Old Girl" was published in Caucasia newspaper, triggering a global wave of fascination and speculation. Many people have since visited Rozovchik, hoping to uncover the truth behind this mystery. Even today, the mystery of the Tisol princess remains unsolved. Was she truly the product of a lost super-civilization? Could extraterrestrials have once visited Earth hundreds of millions of years ago? Or is this all a case of scientific misdating? Whatever the answer may be, the theories and legends surrounding this stone coffin continue to captivate archaeologists, scientists, and mystery seekers around the world. So, what do you think about this astonishing story? Could the Tisol princess be evidence that human history, and even the history of the universe, needs to be rewritten? Or is this simply an unsolved mystery, still waiting for the truth to emerge? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Over 1,000-year-old mummy, discovered beneath a busy street in the capital of Peru. It was just another ordinary morning in Lima, the bustling capital of Peru. Cars rushing by, people hurriedly moving through their daily routines. But while life on the surface went on as usual, beneath the seemingly lifeless asphalt, a doorway to the past suddenly opened. No one could have predicted that just a few strikes of a pickaxe by workers installing a natural gas system would shake the entire archaeological world. Yes, a mummy over 1,000 years old was discovered. Not in some remote jungle or atop a high mountain, but right under the street in downtown Lima. Just about 6.5 feet from the entrance of a private home, an undocumented tomb was revealed. And that was only the beginning of the mystery. Of the 2 tombs uncovered, one was completely empty, but the other held a mummified body, seated in a fetal-like position with knees pulled tightly to the chest and the entire body wrapped in tattered cloth. The image raised many questions. Why was the person buried this way? Who were they? Why were they placed here? And what else lies hidden behind the veil of time, waiting for archaeologists to uncover? Experts believe the mummy does not belong to the powerful Inca Empire, which ruled the region until the Spanish conquest in the 16th century, but is even older. Material evidence suggests the remains may be from the Chankay culture, which existed from around 1000 to 1470 AD. Have you ever heard of the Chankay people? They were part of a little-known but fascinating civilization that once thrived along Peru's central coast, what is now Lima. Most of what we know about them comes from artifacts like ceramics, cloth dolls, and ritual objects found buried with the dead. In the newly discovered tomb, archaeologists found 4 ceramic jars and 3 items made from gourd shells, a material commonly used by ancient people to craft tools or symbolic objects. One of the jars was shaped like a human figure, a design style typical of the Chankay, lending further weight to the mummy's presumed cultural origin. Jose Aliaga, the archaeologist leading the excavation, noted that the presence of such detailed artifacts suggests this is not just an isolated burial, but potentially part of a much larger pre-Hispanic cemetery. He added that just a block away, a similar burial site had been found in the past, suggesting that a vast underground necropolis might exist beneath modern Lima, holding the remains of hundreds or even thousands of ancient individuals. So, why are so many archaeological remains found right in the heart of a modern capital like Lima? The answer lies in the region's deep history. Around 10,000 years ago, the first settlers, fishermen, hunters, and early farmers began living here. Over millennia, countless civilizations rose and fell, building upon the layers of those before them. Modern-day Lima is essentially an enormous archaeological treasure chest, where every dig for a foundation, sewer, or gas line can unlock an entirely new chapter of history. In fact, archaeological finds in Lima are anything but rare. Calida, the company responsible for the gas line construction, reported having documented more than 2,200 archaeological discoveries during its operations in the city. Construction companies in Lima are required to work alongside archaeologists to ensure that the secrets of the past are not lost beneath the concrete of the present. Peter Van Dalen, head of the archaeology department at the University of Peru, affirmed, "Discoveries of mummies, burials, and pre-Inca sites in Lima are extremely common. This means not only researchers but everyday citizens are becoming increasingly aware that they are literally living atop history. And you know what? Outside of this recent discovery, in archaeological zones like Cajamarquilla, located east of Lima, many other mummies have been unearthed, some believed to be victims of ritual sacrifices. One burial site, estimated to be around 1,200 years old, contained the body of a man, possibly an elite figure, buried alongside 6 children, all tightly wrapped in cloth. These children were likely sacrificed to accompany the man into the afterlife, in line with the belief systems of various pre-Inca cultures, that death was not the end, but a gateway to a new existence. Doesn't that give you chills? To know that beneath the pavement where modern feet rush by every day lie the resting places of ancient souls, people who once lived, loved, and died over 1,000 years ago. The unusual burial posture, hands covering the face, the body bound with rope and placed in a fetal position, was not just symbolic. It reflected a deep spiritual view of life and death. Perhaps the ancients believed that, just as life begins in the fetal position, death too is a return, a rebirth, back to the source, something you may have never considered until now. A 2,600-year-old intact tomb with 4 mysterious skeletons discovered. Just about 43 miles from Rome, Italy, in the small town of San Giuliano, archaeologists have made a discovery they themselves call one of the most important achievements in Etruscan archaeology in decades. A 2,600-year-old stone tomb, completely untouched and never looted, has been fully excavated in perfect condition. And what was found inside? 4 ancient skeletons resting on elaborately carved stone beds, surrounded by over 100 valuable burial artifacts, ranging from weapons to exquisite jewelry. Sounds like something straight out of an Indiana Jones movie, right? But this is a real story unfolding at one of Italy's most important archaeological sites. What makes this find truly remarkable isn't just the 1,600-year age, already nearly beyond imagination, but the tomb's remarkable state of preservation. According to Professor David Zori, head of the San Giuliano Archaeological Research Project, SGARP, this is the only chamber tomb in the area still preserved in such pristine condition. All other tombs in the ancient Etruscan cemetery surrounding the town have been looted and disturbed, some as far back as the Roman era, over 2,000 years ago. Thus, the first ever excavation of an untouched tomb offers a once-in-a-millennium opportunity for archaeologists to open a direct window into the world of the Etruscans. Do you know who the Etruscans were? Long before Rome became a mighty empire, the Etruscans were a flourishing civilization on the Italian peninsula. They had their own language, refined art, advanced construction techniques, and unique burial customs. However, after being absorbed by Rome at the end of the 3rd century BCE, the Etruscan culture gradually faded, leaving behind mysteries that remain only partially solved to this day. This tomb, with 4 skeletons lying silently in the ancient stone, could be the key to unlocking more about that lost world. The skeletons were found on stone beds, not just cold slabs, but intricately carved structures that seem to have once belonged to a luxurious living space. Preliminary analysis suggests the 4 individuals may be 2 male-female pairs, possibly married couples or close relatives from a noble family. However, official conclusions await results from ongoing DNA and isotope testing. What amazes archaeologists most is the quantity and quality of the burial goods. More than 100 intact funerary items were found, including elaborately decorated ceramic vessels, iron weapons, possibly swords or spears, and bronze and silver jewelry. Particularly noteworthy are the finely crafted silver hair tubes, proving that the Etruscans not only valued beauty, but also possessed highly skilled craftsmanship. Each item is a clue, revealing stories about the identity, status, culture, and beliefs of the deceased. You might wonder, why has this tomb remained untouched for 26 centuries? The answer lies in its unique location. The tomb was carved directly into the cliff face of the San Giuliano Plateau, once a bustling Etruscan settlement that later became a medieval fortress and was finally abandoned before 1300 AD. For centuries, moss and natural vegetation covered the area, completely hiding the entrance to the realm of the dead. Since 2016, the SGARP project, a collaboration between Baylor University and the Virgil Academy in Rome, has excavated over 600 tombs in the area. But only now have they uncovered a true archaeological treasure, an intact chamber tomb, never disturbed, preserving the spirit and form of ancient Etruscan times. Project leader Professor Zori stated, "The excavation is complete, but the research and interpretation are just beginning. The team will continue analyzing DNA, pollen, soil samples, and even residual food remains to reconstruct a full picture of Etruscan life and death 2,600 years ago. This will not only deepen our understanding of a pre-Roman civilization, but also broaden our view of how humans lived, thought, and remembered their loved ones through the ages. From burial customs to accompanying artifacts, from gender distinctions to spatial organization inside the tomb, every detail is a valuable piece in the grand puzzle of history." Do you feel a chill thinking that beneath that peaceful soil lie 4 individuals, once named, breathing, living, loving, and now whispering their stories to future generations through every carved stone, every etched weapon, every silver coil around their hair? The San Giuliano discovery shows archaeology is not just broken pottery. It's an art that revives buried memories. A single tomb can open the door to an entire civilization, and a set of skeletons can change how we understand human history. And who knows, this might only be the beginning. With hundreds of other stone tombs still unexcavated around the plateau, future discoveries may shock us just as much, or even force archaeologists to rewrite history. A 1,000-year-old pen reveals the secret of an epic outside the church. Somewhere in the lush green lands of Ireland, beneath layers of soil and rock that seemed only to hold memories, a small pen has awakened after 1,000 years of silent rest. Not a piece of jewelry, not an ancient sword, but a writing tool, an ancient ink pen dating back up to 1,000 years. This discovery has sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Why is such a seemingly simple object so important? Because this pen was not in the hands of a monk copying scriptures, not found in a secluded monastery, and it is not connected to any religious ritual. It was excavated at Caerhirconnell, a sturdy stone fortress in County Clare, Ireland, which was once the power center of local medieval lords. And that's the key point. This pen belonged not to the clergy, but to the secular world. What does that mean? While most of Ireland's medieval written history is known through religious texts like the Book of Kells, a masterpiece of calligraphy from around 800 AD, this discovery offers a completely new perspective. That outside the church, people were also recording, writing, and preserving their knowledge. The pen, described by Dr. Michelle Comber from the National University of Ireland, Galway, was made of hollowed-out bone, fitted with a nib made from a copper alloy. You can imagine around the 10th century, when the Caerhirconnell fortress was bustling with trade, farming, and land management, this pen might have been used to record genealogies, business contracts, or even internal laws. It was found among finely crafted tools, musical instruments, and trade goods, vivid traces of a complex, thriving community. So what makes this pen so special? First, because such a pen has never before been found in a non-religious context anywhere in the British Isles. Second, it's unlike the common quill pens used in biblical manuscripts and doesn't have the ink reservoir structure of later pens. Third, it may be the first known example of a modular pen, meaning the body and nib were made separately and assembled later, something never recorded before in this region. Dr. Comber, intrigued by the find, enlisted experimental archaeologist Adam Parsons to recreate the pen and test its actual function. The results were surprising. The pen not only worked effectively when dipped in ink, but it also allowed for fine, delicate strokes, suitable for drawing frames, ruling lines, or noting important details. Calligrapher and historian Tim O'Neill suggested the design was ideal for tasks requiring high precision, such as accounting, trade, or estate management. Isn't that fascinating? A tiny object holding the power to shape how a community lived, worked, and preserved knowledge. It may even represent an early literate secular class, a rarity in that era outside the church. Caerhirconnell Fortress itself is also remarkable, with a footprint of about 460 feet wide, stone walls 13 feet high and up to 10 feet thick. It was more than a residence. It was the administrative center of a wealthy clan. From the 10th century through the early 1600s, the fortress was continuously maintained, expanded, and inhabited. That means this pen is not just an archaeological piece. It signals the existence of a well-developed secular administrative culture running alongside the church-dominated one so often referenced in history. Looking deeper, the pen symbolizes a crucial step in human history, the emergence of systematic thinking through writing. Remember, writing is one of humanity's most important abilities to create history, spread knowledge, and build societies. From reed pens writing on papyrus in ancient Egypt to the sharp quills of medieval Europe, every writing tool marks a stage in the development of human thought. While most churches used swan, goose, or turkey quills sharpened with knives, at Caerhirconnell, someone might have used a modular bone pen to write on paper, parchment, or wood. They could have recorded ancestral names, property lists, farming calendars, or perhaps even music scores? Who knows? But clearly, this pen proves that writing was not the exclusive domain of the church. A single pen, yet possibly the key to unlocking an entire forgotten culture. Could this be the first evidence of an early secular intellectual class existing in the British Isles? What do you think? The most mysterious and terrifying mummies that completely rewrite world history. The most beautiful First Lady mummy in the world. When it comes to the best preserved mummies in history, one cannot overlook the body of Maria Eva Duarte de Perón, the wife of Argentine President Juan Perón. Her life was full of ups and downs, facing countless hardships beyond words. She died at a very young age, but was revered by the people like a goddess, earning nicknames such as the Legendary Woman, Mother of the Nation, and even Saint Evita. Even after death, her fate remained turbulent, wandering for many years before finally resting in peace. Eva Maria Duarte, also known as Evita, was born on May 7, 1919, in the small town of Los Toldos, Argentina. From the moment she cried her first breath, she was not as fortunate as other children to grow up in a loving, complete family. Evita endured a harsh childhood. Her biological father was married to another woman but had an affair with Evita's mother, fathering 5 children, with Evita being the youngest. When she was just 1 year old, her father abandoned the 6 of them to return to his lawful wife. Living in poverty, often hungry and frail, Evita also suffered scorn from her peers, who called her a bastard child. At 15, Evita met tango singer Agustin Magaldi when he came to her hometown to perform. Clinging to hope like a drowning person grabbing a lifeline, she quickly agreed to follow Magaldi to Buenos Aires to begin her career on the stage. Her life took a completely different turn after a fundraising performance for earthquake victims in January 1944, which killed over 6,000 people. At that event, she met Colonel Juan Perón, who was 48 years old, twice her age. He had no children. His first wife had died of cervical cancer 6 years earlier. In 1945, Colonel Juan Perón became vice president of Argentina, but with fame came many enemies. Rumors circulated that Evita had been a prostitute to support herself. This gossip caused an uproar among Argentina's high society. People whispered incredulously that a woman of such a background could enter the upper class. Like many powerful couples, people believed it was ambition, not love, that held them together. On October 9, 1945, Vice President Juan Perón was forced to resign and was arrested. Evita remained calm and traveled everywhere campaigning for him, appealing to the people's support. Her speeches inspired countless poor and unemployed people filled with resentment. Massive protests erupted nationwide, demanding Juan's release. On October 17th, under immense pressure from the crowds, opponents released Juan. 4 days later, Juan Perón and Evita were married. Immediately afterward, he began his presidential campaign. On February 24, 1946, Juan Perón won with 52% of the vote and became the new president of Argentina, while Evita became first lady at just 26 years old. Naturally, as a public figure, Evita never forgot her responsibilities. She continuously sought welfare for the poor, children, and the elderly and fought for women's rights. She established the First Lady's Social Aid Committee and centers to help the impoverished. As First Lady, she worked tirelessly for the people. However, on January 9, 1949, a death sentence suddenly fell upon her. Doctors diagnosed her with cervical cancer. At 8:25 p.m. on July 24, 1949, she took her last breath at the age of 33, leaving millions of Argentinians in deep mourning. After Evita's death, President Juan Perón was heartbroken and decided to have her embalmed so she could remain by his side forever. The famous Argentine pathologist Pedro Ara, known as the Master of Embalming, was entrusted with this task. He quickly began the embalming process for the noble First Lady. Her blood was completely replaced with pure alcohol and glycerin, a compound capable of withstanding temperatures up to 284 degrees Celsius. The alcohol extracted water from her tissues, while glycerin kept her body looking lifelike, and her internal organs were preserved in an incredibly perfect state. Her body was then placed in a copper coffin, encased in a thick crystal glass cover costing $30,000, and displayed for public visitation. For the next 2 years, Dr. Pedro Ara worked diligently until his lifelike masterpiece was complete. However, all plans for a monument to First Lady Evita failed when, in 1955, her husband, President Juan Perón, was overthrown by the military and fled to Spain. Fearing that Evita's mummy would become a rallying point for opposition forces, soldiers confiscated and hid it in secret locations. Dr. John Kreniauskas, a specialist from University College London, said, Evita's body represented power, a symbol of political authority, and she also represented women. So her body was something everyone wanted to possess. They hid it in a box concealed by soldiers in a secret place. Initially, the military commanders responsible for guarding Evita's body refused to keep it at their base. The coffin was thus hidden inside a wooden crate labeled as radio equipment, concealed in a truck parked in Buenos Aires, stored at city water facilities, behind a movie theater, and even in the attic of a military intelligence agency. Somehow, news leaked from every location. At one point, the coffin was reportedly kept in the home of a military colonel. Rumors circulated that this colonel shot his wife out of jealousy over the time he spent with Evita's body. Eventually, it was believed there was no safe place in Argentina to keep the body, and the government ordered it shipped to Europe. Evita's coffin was transported to Bonn, West Germany, and buried in the garden of the Argentine embassy. Later, it was moved to Milan and buried in a cemetery under the alias Maria Maggi. In 1971, her body was exhumed and returned to her husband, who was then living with his third wife Isabel in Spain. During this time, she was kept in a chapel attic. The mummy was no longer as beautiful as before. After nearly 2 decades of wandering, she and her husband, now deceased, were finally returned home. When Juan Perón's third wife became president, she built a memorial to place Evita's body alongside the late President Juan Perón's remains. In 1976, another military coup occurred. This time, Evita's body was quickly hidden by her family before it could be seized again by the military. Finally, she ended her journey in a marble crypt, approximately 16 feet underground, designed to withstand a nuclear bomb, at La Recoleta Cemetery in Buenos Aires. Since then, no one has seen the woman considered Argentina's legend again. The perfect mummy of a Chinese beauty, soft skin and intact organs. Have you ever wondered if humans could defy time, with their bodies remaining unchanged for thousands of years? The strange story you are about to hear is not science fiction, but a true archaeological discovery that amazed the world and remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in human history. Let's go back to 1971, in Changsha City, Hunan Province, China. A group of construction workers unexpectedly discovered a strange, deep pit while digging. As they dug deeper, they realized they had accidentally uncovered an ancient tomb. Archaeologists were quickly called to the site, and what they found was a massive burial complex. It took more than a year and over 1,500 local volunteers to complete the excavation, but the reward was worth the effort. Inside the tomb were over 1,000 rare artifacts, including gold statues, silverware, ancient musical instruments, cosmetic boxes, exquisite lacquerware, and especially a collection of silk garments reserved for the aristocracy. However, all these treasures were only the prelude to the most shocking discovery: a remarkably well-preserved mummy. It was the body of a woman buried alongside her husband and son. What stunned the archaeologists was that while the bodies of the husband and son had decomposed, the woman's mummy remained almost unchanged after more than 2,000 years. Her skin was still soft, her arms and legs could still bend and stretch, and there were no signs of rigor mortis, something never before seen in any ancient Chinese mummy at that time. So, who was she? Based on the artifacts found in the tomb, the woman was identified as Lady Xin Jui, the wife of Marquis Dai, a high-ranking noble from the Western Han Dynasty, around 206 BCE to 220 CE. Scientific analysis determined she died in 163 BCE at the age of 50. Since then, she had rested peacefully underground for over 2 millennia until the startling discovery in 1971. Lady Xin Jui's body is like a black box, preserving medical information, lifestyle habits, and many unsolved mysteries. Forensic doctors and modern scientists were amazed to find that her internal organs remained intact, from lungs, liver, and heart to stomach. Even more incredible, they were able to determine her blood type. Type A. Yes, you heard correctly. A person who died over 2,000 years ago still has blood that can be tested, just like a modern-day individual. Thanks to the mummy's astonishingly perfect condition, experts were also able to reconstruct Lady Xin Jui's diet. They found she once enjoyed lavish meals reserved for nobility, such as venison, lamb, fresh fruits, and even carefully preserved cosmetics. But as you might expect, such a lifestyle also had serious consequences. Medical examinations showed Lady Xin Jui suffered from obesity and needed a cane to walk. She had atherosclerosis, diabetes, and spinal degeneration, 3 major ailments resulting from a sedentary lifestyle combined with excessive eating. The most heartbreaking evidence was that her stomach still contained watermelon seeds, proof that she had eaten watermelon about 2 hours before suffering a fatal heart attack. A final moment in life frozen in time, not only in history, but within her very body. An unexpected death, yet one that left an immeasurable legacy for future generations. But why did her body not decompose while her husband and son's bodies did, even though they shared the same environment and tomb? Scientists have proposed many hypotheses. Was she embalmed using a lost special formula? Could it be a combination of herbs, manual embalming techniques, and unique burial conditions involving 4 layers of coffins, clay, and charcoal protection? Or was it a natural environmental factor creating a natural preservation chamber? None of these hypotheses have been fully convincing. To this day, despite numerous modern studies, including DNA testing, histological analysis, and examination of the tomb's structure, the mystery of Lady Xinjui's absolute preservation remains unsolved. And it is this silence from the passage of time that makes this mummy one of the strangest archaeological phenomena in the world. A mummy that not only challenges all modern medical knowledge, but also opens a door back to the past, a place where humans lived, enjoyed, loved, and died, leaving behind unanswered questions for generations to come. What do you think? Is Lady Xinjui's mummy the result of a lost preservation technology, or is there something modern science has yet to uncover? The 5,000-year-old Ötzi mummy carries a deadly curse. Some archaeological discoveries amaze the world with their historical value, but others send chills down your spine, accompanied by strange deaths, unexplainable coincidences, and even eerie curses. One of the most infamous cases that plunged archaeologists and the scientific community into years of doubt is the Ötzi mummy, the 5,000-year-old Iceman. Ötzi is the oldest naturally preserved mummy found in Europe, discovered in near-perfect condition. But this very mummy became the center of a tragic series of events. 7 people directly involved in Ötzi's discovery and study died mysteriously, raising the question, is there truly a curse quietly surrounding this ancient corpse? The story begins on September 19, 1991. In the Ötztal Alps, a German couple was hiking, unaware that their lives were about to change forever. At an elevation of over 9,800 feet, deep in eternal ice, they stumbled upon the body of a man lying face down, partially protruding from the glacier, yet showing no signs of decay. No one at the time suspected that this was a perfectly preserved mummy dating back 5,300 years. The mummy was taken for study at the border between Austria and Italy and was named Ötzi, after the Ötztal mountain range where he was found. Immediately, Ötzi became a global archaeological sensation. No natural mummy had ever been so well preserved, especially in such a harsh, high-altitude environment nearly uninhabited by humans. Scientists determined Ötzi was a man around 45 years old, living during the transitional period between the Stone Age and the Copper Age, a critical stage in human evolution. What made the discovery even more remarkable was that Ötzi still carried his everyday tools: a stone axe, arrows, a knife, a backpack made from pine wood, and clothes sewn from animal skins. This gave researchers an incredibly detailed insight into ancient life more than 50 centuries ago. But the strange part only began afterward. Based on wound analysis and body marks, it was discovered that Ötzi died in an armed conflict. He had an arrowhead lodged in his left shoulder, which was the direct cause of death. But why was Ötzi found at such a harsh, high altitude? Was he fleeing, a nomad, or perhaps an ancient shaman? In fact, the strange tattoos on his body, the white stones and twisted leather tassels he carried, and the unusual tools that didn't resemble typical hunting gear led many experts to speculate that Ötzi was not just an ordinary man, but possibly a shaman or a spiritual figure in his community. Had he performed an ancient ritual on the mountaintop and paid for it with his life? By now you might think these are just typical archaeological hypotheses, right? But wait, the most mysterious part has yet to appear. After Ötzi's discovery and study, a series of sudden deaths began to occur. It started with Rainer Henn, a forensic pathologist who first conducted Ötzi's autopsy. He died in a car accident just months later. Then Kurt Fritz, the guide who found the mummy, died in an avalanche while his companions survived. Soon after came Rainer Holtz, the documentary filmmaker on Ötzi, who died from a mysterious cancer. Helmut Simon, the original discoverer of the mummy, disappeared mysteriously while mountain climbing and was later found dead. A year later, Dieter Warnecke, who helped search for Helmut, died suddenly from a heart attack at just 45 years old. Even Konrad Spindler, the chief archaeologist who studied Ötzi and once laughed at the idea of a curse, died a few years later from a rare disease. Finally, Tom Loy, a biologist who discovered blood traces on Ötzi, also succumbed to a rare blood disease before completing his research. In total, 7 mysterious deaths, all directly connected to Ötzi's mummy. What's even more chilling is that most died suddenly, while still healthy, or from extremely rare medical causes. Is this just a chain of random coincidences? Or is an ancient curse awakening after millennia trapped beneath ice and snow? The question remains open, as too many complex and mysterious factors have yet to be explained. Today, Ötzi's mummy is preserved under special conditions at the South Tyrol Archaeological Museum in Italy, where scientists continue to study his origins, identity, and the secrets surrounding his life. Still, every year, visitors come to see Ötzi with curious and sometimes cautious eyes. Some believe, some scoff at the curse stories, but many leave quietly after hearing about the seventh death, feeling unsettled. Ötzi is not just a 5,000-year-old mummy. He is a gateway back to a distant era when humans and nature intertwined in strange ways. And if everything connected to Ötzi truly is a curse, perhaps it is a warning that sometimes the past should be left to rest peacefully in its eternal sleep. The 700-year-old beautiful mummy still has intact eyelashes. Have you ever imagined that one day, while digging a road or constructing a building, you might accidentally touch history? A random moment, and suddenly the past awakens. This is not just imagination. It really happened in China in 2011. In Taizhou City, Jiangsu Province, a quiet place not particularly famous on the tourist map, a group of workers were expanding a road when, at a depth of only about 6.5 feet, they hit a hard object. They thought it was just a stone slab or an old piece of machinery, but no, they had uncovered an ancient coffin. At that moment, no one dared to dig further. They quickly contacted the Taizhou Museum, and within hours, archaeology experts arrived. When they opened the coffin lid, the whole team was stunned, and probably the world was too, as the news spread. Before them was not just an ancient body, but a nearly perfectly preserved mummy, so intact that you could still see full eyebrows and eyelashes, as if the woman had only just taken a long afternoon nap. We are talking about a woman who lived during the Ming Dynasty, nearly 700 years ago. But the miracle didn't stop there. When they unfolded the fine silk wrapping around her body, they found not only well-preserved skin, but also jewelry, clothing, and items clearly showing she was no ordinary person. So who was she? Why was she buried so carefully? And how could her body resist the ravages of time for so long? The first thing that amazed the archaeologists was the near-perfect preservation of the body. Layers of soft silk wrapped around the woman's form like a cocoon. The air, humidity, and temperature all seemed to work together to preserve the shape of a person who lived 7 centuries ago. Can you imagine? Her eyelashes still curled, lips still shaped, and on her hand, a sparkling jade ring. That ring, along with other jewelry, was the key for archaeologists to speculate about her identity. She might have been a noblewoman, even a member of a powerful family in the Ming court. The exquisite clothing, rare fabric materials, and intricate patterns all indicated high status. Thanks to the remaining traces, the mummy was given the poetic name, the Beauty of Taizhou. But the story didn't end there. A big question arose from the moment of discovery. What was the dark brown liquid surrounding the body? Was it an ancient embalming fluid, or simply groundwater seeping into the coffin over time? This question remains unresolved even now, more than a decade later. Chinese scientists continue to analyze and study, but the answer remains shrouded in the mist of history. What do you think? Did ancient people possess embalming techniques so advanced they confused the modern world? Mr. Wang Weiyin, director of the Taizhou Museum, once said that Ming Dynasty mummification was very special. Unlike ancient Egypt's use of artificial chemicals, it utilized the finest elements from nature: soft silk, cotton, and discreet burial conditions. Some researchers believe the special soil environment with low temperatures and limited oxygen prevented bacteria from growing, effectively freezing the decomposition process. Inside the coffin, besides the mummy, there were bones, pottery, ancient writings, and valuable artifacts. All of these pieces help reconstruct a vivid picture of Ming society. How did the nobility dress? What jewelry did they wear? What burial rituals did they follow? And most importantly, what was this woman's role in history? Unfortunately, the discovery site was quite isolated, with no other remains or clues nearby. This makes it very difficult to identify the beauty of Taizhou and determine her cause of death. Did she die from illness, old age, or was she a victim of a palace conspiracy? All of these remain hypotheses, each opening a new door into the maze of history. To this day, the mummy is preserved at the Taizhou Museum, which attracts thousands of visitors annually, especially those passionate about archaeology and ancient Chinese culture. Here, people can see with their own eyes a body that is nearly immortal and admire the objects that once belonged to a person who lived centuries ago. And of course, if you have the chance and love exploring the past, a trip to Taizhou would be an ideal adventure. 6. Shocking archaeological discoveries in China that completely rewrite human history. The skeletal remains of a crowned princess in a 1,000-year-old ancient tomb. Have you ever imagined that one day, when layers of earth and rock are stripped away, the past from 1,000 years ago might suddenly come alive right before our eyes? To start today's video, join me on a thrilling journey into the heart of Inner Mongolia, where a chance discovery stunned the entire Chinese archaeological community. A tomb buried deep underground, untouched for thousands of years, revealed the identity of a royal beauty and the fascinating story behind the golden crown still resting on her head. It all began like any other routine day at a quarry at the foot of Turkey Mountain in Tongliao City, Inner Mongolia, China. A group of workers suddenly spotted an unusually red-colored stone protruding from the earth and rocks. They had no idea that this very stone was the gateway to a mystery spanning millennia. Archaeologists were quickly summoned, and as they began excavating, what appeared beneath over 33 feet of earth was an enormous burial structure, an elaborately constructed tomb stretching about 98 feet long, built meticulously from stone, shaped exactly like an ancient house. When the coffin lid was carefully opened, the scene inside left the team speechless. The skeletal remains of a woman lay neatly arranged, her head adorned with a finely crafted gold crown, resting on a metal pillow faded by time. The body was wrapped in layers of precious silk fabric, many pieces still preserving intricate patterns. Even more remarkable, the coffin was made from cedar wood, a rare and valuable wood typically reserved for royal families in ancient times. On the coffin lid, a sharply carved phoenix symbolized nobility and immortality in Khitan culture. Initial analyses identified the remains as those of a woman aged approximately 30 to 35 at the time of death, living during the Liao dynasty, from 905 to 1125 AD, founded by the Khitan people. Although the body was well preserved and the artifacts invaluable, there were no inscriptions or objects revealing the true identity of this crowned woman. This mystery led the research team on a challenging quest lasting several months. When DNA analysis was finally conducted, archaeologists were genuinely shocked by the results. The DNA sample was compared to royal remains from the Liao dynasty, particularly those from the tomb of Emperor Taizu of Liao, the dynasty's first emperor. The findings confirmed. The woman in the tomb was Princess Yu Luduo, the king's biological sister. This explains why the tomb was so elaborately constructed and why it remained completely untouched for over a millennium. But why would a royal princess, one of the highest-ranking figures in the court, be buried quietly in such a remote, isolated place, far from the center of royal power? Could there be a hidden palace tragedy, a mysterious exile, or a political conspiracy behind this? To answer this, some historians hypothesize that Princess Yu Luduo became entangled in power struggles among Khitan princes. She may have been forced to leave the palace or left voluntarily to avoid the court's turmoil. Others suggest she was the first woman to hold a diplomatic role with nomadic tribes in Inner Mongolia and chose to rest eternally in what she considered her second homeland. Interestingly, although the tomb's artifacts are distinctly royal, there are cultural elements mixed with nomadic and borderland influences. The metal pillow, a rare item almost never found in traditional royal tombs, was placed beneath the princess's head. This led experts to question whether the princess had lived and integrated with nomadic life, breaking free from the strict confines of the palace. Of course, these are only preliminary theories, but as you can see, although many questions about Princess Yu Luduo's death remain unanswered, this discovery opens a fascinating new chapter in the history of the Liao dynasty and Khitan culture. The ancient tomb beneath Inner Mongolia's soil not only stands as a testament to the prosperity of an ancient dynasty, but also serves as a poignant reminder of human destinies buried by time. The sighing mummy in a 2,000-year-old ancient tomb. The city of Xi'an, known for its rich history and called the Holy Land of Tombs, has long been a cultural highlight on China's map. Over thousands of years, this place has preserved many secrets of the past, and each time an ancient tomb is excavated, a new story unfolds. Recently, during an excavation in Hanyang District, Xi'an City, Shanxi Province, an unexpected event occurred. While workers were carrying out their tasks, they suddenly discovered an ancient tomb and immediately alerted archaeological experts to conduct a detailed survey. From the paintings, artifacts, and remnants of an ancient culture, specialists quickly determined that the tomb dated back to the Western Han Dynasty, nearly 2,000 years ago. However, what made this find unique was that when the coffin was opened, no burial goods were found inside, only a coffin and a mummy. This led experts to speculate whether the tomb had been previously looted. To uncover the truth, they decided to open the coffin lid. What followed were a series of strange occurrences. First, they found the mummy inside still remarkably well preserved, despite having been soaked in water for a long time. Then they heard an unusual sound resembling a sigh coming from the mummy. This phenomenon had never been recorded before and shocked the entire team of experts. To solve this mystery, the specialists conducted thorough research. Eventually, they discovered that the strange sound was caused by the mummy having been submerged in seawater for centuries. The high salt concentration in the seawater drew moisture out of the mummy's body and replaced it with salt, preventing decomposition since bacteria and microorganisms could not survive in such an environment. When the coffin lid was opened, the influx of oxygen activated biological mechanisms, causing the mummy's vocal cords to vibrate and produce a sound resembling a sigh, startling many who thought the dead had come back to life. However, this phenomenon ultimately clarified for the experts that, despite its mysterious and eerie nature, it was not a case of the dead returning to life, but a biological effect that could be explained scientifically. Thus, this ancient tomb once again demonstrated the power of preservation under special environmental conditions, while providing fascinating insights into the cultural past of the Chinese people. 148. Ancient tombs, discovered beneath a zoo. In 1956, when construction began on a zoo in Guangdong Province, China, no one expected that this would lead to a major archaeological discovery. Over several decades, an archaeological team uncovered around 500 ancient tombs in the area. In early 2024, the Guangzhou Institute of Cultural Heritage and Archaeology resumed excavation work. So far, 148 ancient tombs from the Han, Tang, Jin, Southern Song, and Ming dynasties have been found. Alongside these tombs, experts have also unearthed nearly 200 artifacts, ranging from intricately crafted jade pieces to complex ceramic designs. These findings provide the public with valuable information about ancient burial customs. The artifacts and tombs span over 2,100 years of Chinese history, offering researchers a precious opportunity to study the evolution of burial practices in the region. From April to July 2024, the archaeological team from the Guangzhou Institute excavated nearly 150 tombs dating back thousands of years across an area of about 14,000 square feet within a zoo in Guangdong Province. The oldest tomb dates to the Han Dynasty, 206 BC to 220 AD. There are 8 tombs from the Jin Dynasty, 265 to 589 AD, 15 from the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907 AD, and 121 tombs from the Ming and Qing dynasties. Additionally, 48 other ancient tombs were discovered. 2 tombs in particular attracted significant attention from experts. One is a meticulously designed tomb from the Eastern Jin dynasty, over 1,700 years old, nearly 33 feet long, and almost perfectly preserved. It has a small hole on top made by grave robbers, but suffered no damage inside. This tomb is considered the largest and best preserved from the Eastern Jin period found in Guangzhou. The second notable tomb dates from the Southern dynasties. Although smaller and previously disturbed by tomb robbers, it remains relatively well preserved inside. The discovery of these ancient tombs is highly significant for studying burial customs and funeral rites in Guangzhou. Moreover, this find plays an important role in researching the construction techniques and architectural styles of the Jin and Southern dynasties. Researchers hope that through further analysis, they can draw conclusions about China's burial customs over thousands of years. This will provide the public with a clearer understanding of how burial trends changed across various Chinese dynasties. According to experts, the excavation of ancient tombs is not limited to academic circles. The Guangzhou Institute of Cultural Heritage and Archaeology has developed tours for visitors to experience and learn about these dynasties firsthand. The archaeological team said they will continue studying to better understand the burial traditions and social structures of ancient China, which underwent many changes throughout history. A perfectly preserved mummy turns black after 300 years. One ordinary morning at a construction site in Xiangcheng County, Henan Province, China, the world of archaeology suddenly focused its attention when 3 ancient coffins were discovered about 10 feet underground. No one expected that what lay hidden beneath the soil for over 300 years would reveal a mysterious and haunting story about embalming techniques during the Qing dynasty, a renowned era in Chinese history. The bodies were not only buried with great ceremony, but preserved almost perfectly, astonishing experts. Among the 3 mummies found, the most remarkable was that of a man, believed to be a high-ranking official of the imperial court, still wearing his formal robes, with every stitch and layer of his garments clearly visible, as if he had just fallen asleep the night before. The strangeness didn't end there. When the coffin lid was opened, the man's face was startlingly clear and lifelike. But the bizarre phenomenon began just hours later. His face started turning black, a strange foul odor arose, and skin samples also darkened rapidly. Professor Dong Xiong, a renowned historian, exclaimed, "The entire 300-year decomposition process happened in just one day." This statement seemed to open a mysterious door where time itself appeared compressed, waiting for the exact moment to awaken and strip away the peaceful shell of the corpse. Scientists proposed various theories, and the answers gradually emerged. According to Professor Dong, it's highly possible that the official's family used traditional medicinal herbs combined with an anaerobic, oxygen-free environment to halt natural decomposition. While the coffin remained sealed underground, surrounded by coal and waterproof paint, bacteria could not penetrate, preserving the body nearly perfectly. But once a small gap opened, outside air rushed in like a trigger, instantly activating decomposition processes that had been frozen for centuries. Lucas Nicol, an archaeology expert from University College London, also noted that Chinese embalming techniques differ significantly from Egyptian methods. The Chinese did not use resin or remove internal organs. Instead, they placed bodies in large coffins buried in sealed tombs, relying entirely on natural conditions, humidity, oxygen, and temperature to preserve the remains. In this case, the wooden coffin was coated with paint and placed in a layer of coal, creating an ideal environment to block bacteria and mold. This is not the first time China has shocked the world with remarkably preserved mummies. In 2011, in eastern China, the mummy of a noblewoman from the Ming dynasty was discovered, with her entire body and burial items almost perfectly intact. These findings not only open a window into ancient preservation technology, but also highlight the integration of religious beliefs, medical knowledge, and profound understanding of nature by the ancients. Within each layer of soil and every ancient coffin lie fragments of history, telling stories not only of death, but also of how people of that era viewed life, status, and eternity. And when time suddenly spins in a single moment, we are reminded that the past has never truly slept. A corpse emits a special fragrance in an ancient Chinese coffin. In March 2001, during construction work in Langshan County, Suzhou City, Anhui Province, a region with a turbulent history in China, an unexpected event occurred. A worker operating an excavator suddenly stopped when the machine struck an unusual underground structure at a depth of about 13 feet. Little did anyone realize that this contact would mark the beginning of a mystery lasting over 2 decades. Immediately, the site manager halted construction and reported the discovery to local authorities. Within hours, an archaeology team arrived, sealed off the area, and began a careful excavation. Beneath the soil, they uncovered an ancient burial complex containing 2 coffins lying side by side, later named Coffin Number 1 and Coffin Number 2. Coffin Number 1 appeared simple and unremarkable. The body inside was heavily decomposed, leaving little archaeological value. However, when experts moved to Coffin Number 2, a completely different atmosphere surrounded them. This coffin was protected by 2 meticulously crafted outer boxes painted a copper color, made from rare cypress wood, a type renowned for its resistance to termites and mold. The outer boxes were separated by a 16-inch thick layer of lime, and inside was a red lacquered coffin made from the prized xenon wood, a rare and precious native tree. The mystery deepened when experts opened the coffin lid. A strange, delicate fragrance, like a faint scent of flowers and herbs, unexpectedly filled the air. This was unusual for an ancient tomb, where most bodies have decomposed or emitted strong odors. But this time, they found a remarkably well-preserved female corpse. The young woman was dressed in Qing dynasty attire, her black hair neatly tied at the back of her head. Her skin was smooth and supple, the body still flexible, and her joints could move slightly. Such preservation had never been seen before in any Chinese mummy excavation. She was slender, about 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighed roughly 97 pounds, with an oval face and bound feet shaped in the 3-inch lotus style, a distinct feature of Qing noblewomen. According to archaeologist Wang Shaoqiang, upon first seeing the body, he said, "She looked like she was sleeping, a peaceful and mysterious beauty, as if time had stopped at the very last moment of her life. Yet her beauty concealed a haunting truth. On her neck, experts found a deep T-shaped cut, clearly made by a sharp sword. Notably, there were no signs of struggle or resistance on the body. She likely died resigned or forced to accept her fate. The question arises, who was this mysterious woman? Why did she die such a tragic death, yet receive a grand burial befitting a noble consort? The burial items suggested royal status. Gold and silver jewelry, prayer beads of precious stones, and coins from the Kangxi era all pointed to a significant identity. Some speculated she might be Xiang Fei, the famous favored consort of Emperor Qianlong, reputed to have a natural fragrance. However, historical records state that Consort Rong, the real figure behind Xiang Fei, died at age 54, not 30 as this mummy's age suggests, so this theory was quickly dismissed. As analyses deepened, the mystery only thickened. There was no epitaph, no mention in the Qing Shi, history of the Qing dynasty, nor any record in Langshan County's archives. Silence prevailed. The only reasonable scientific hypothesis to explain her exceptional preservation was linked to the fatal sword wound itself. The injury caused rapid blood loss and drying, preventing decomposition in the damp earth. Combined with the protective coffins and embalming herbs, she had been able to sleep undisturbed for over 200 years. So who was she really? Why did she die young? And why was she buried like royalty? To this day, these questions remain unanswered. What about you? What do you think about this discovery? Leave your thoughts below so we can discuss together. The tomb of China's most pampered princess. When the name Qin Shi Huang is mentioned, the image of a great emperor, the founder of the Chinese Empire, and a historical figure who left an indelible mark with monumental achievements like the Great Wall and the Lingkou Canal immediately comes to mind. Ascending the throne at the age of 13, he etched his name into history as the first emperor to unify China and one of the greatest rulers of all time. However, behind his resounding victories and strategic vision lies a story no less tragic and full of suffering. The life of Princess Ying Yinman, the daughter Qin Shi Huang cherished most. She is often referred to as China's most pampered princess. Ying Yinman, the princess adored by her father, lived a life of luxury and opulence. She had no worries about her future. Everything was secured by her father, a powerful emperor. But this was merely an illusion, for when Qin Shi Huang passed away in 210 BCE, a dark shadow fell over Ying Yinman's life. She, along with her siblings, quickly became victims of a brutal power struggle where family members turned into the cruelest adversaries. The truth began to unravel through a shocking archaeological discovery in 1976 when experts excavated an ancient burial complex at the Qinling Mountains in Shanxi, China. There, researchers uncovered tombs containing remains buried in disarray, marked by signs of brutality and horror. The bodies were dismembered, some with heads severed, others pierced by arrows, or limbs brutally cut off. These signs pointed to the victims being savagely murdered, and it was undeniable that those in the tombs were closely tied to the Qin royal family. A significant clue emerged with the discovery of a seal inscribed with the two characters Yangxi. This seal proved a crucial fact. The remains in the tomb belonged to Princess Ying Yinman, the beloved daughter of Qin Shi Huang. It was clear evidence of the ruthless power struggle that followed her father's death. When Qin Shi Huang died, everything changed. Hu Hai, one of Qin Shi Huang's sons, conspired with the eunuch Zhao Gao to seize the throne. They forged an imperial edict and assassinated Crown Prince Fusu, the intended heir, leading to his death. After ascending the throne, Hu Hai relentlessly eliminated his opponents. His own family, including his siblings and the princess, could not escape his wrath. Ying Yinman, once the most cherished, became a victim of this brutality. The deaths of Ying Yinman and her royal siblings were recorded in blood-soaked tales. According to legend, 12 princes were beheaded at the Xianyang market, while 10 princesses, including Ying Yinman, were dismembered. A horrific massacre unfolded within the heart of the palace, filling it with scenes of death and bloodshed. Despite seizing the throne, Hu Hai ruled for only 3 years before the dynasty descended into chaos. Betrayal and dark schemes led to the collapse of the Qin dynasty. Ultimately, Hu Hai was forced to abdicate and took his own life in disgrace, ending a dynasty marked by both grandeur and tragedy. The life and death of Princess Ying Yinman stand as the starkest testament to the cruelty of power and the schemes for the throne within the royal family. Despite being adored, she could not escape the evil brought by those closest to her. The story of Ying Yinman's love and tragedy, along with the painful deaths of her and her siblings, left a dark stain on Chinese history, a reminder of the ruthlessness of power and the sinister plots that lurk within dynasties. Once again, this story reminds us that power can not only build empires, but also destroy the most beautiful things. What do you think of this story? Personally, I find this princess truly pitiable. As you can see, recent archaeological discoveries in China not only bring fascinating stories from the past, but also raise many unanswered questions about the history and culture of ancient civilizations. These mysteries have captured the attention of the scientific community and even made seasoned researchers pause in awe. With each new discovery, we gain a deeper understanding of the mystery and grandeur of ancient Chinese civilization, while igniting an endless passion for exploration. What about you? What do you think of today's findings? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. For now, goodbye and see you next time.